that is going to happen to you when you teach the class, and you're going to have to make in-the-moment decisions about how to handle that. I'm going to continue to move forward. We're not going to finish everything today. We'll only tomorrow to finish some other things. I just want to say that piece. And I promise you, as soon as it turns 4 o'clock, we'll end. No one is going to stay here a second after 4 o'clock today. So we're on to week 7, which is about building safe places, about psychological safety. So you've been with folks for 6 weeks, you're moving into the 7th week, and chances are there have been some powerful emotional things that have happened in the class up till now. So you could, depending on how it goes, as you're talking about creating emotional safety for kids, you can use the classroom as that parallel example and talk about, remember last week when we had that really intense conversation? What allowed that conversation to happen? And you can get folks to really talk about what made them feel safe, and then how can they turn that around and apply that to their kids. So we have a great gratitude mindfulness activity here. And then what we have folks do is grab an index card. All of you should have an index card or a little piece of paper, a sticky, and a pen. And this is where you ask folks, I'm asking you guys to do this, write down a sentence or think of a time in your life where you felt unsafe. Don't pick something that's going to really upset you right now, but think of an incident where you felt unsafe in your life. Physically unsafe, emotionally unsafe, something was tough. Just, you're not going to have to show this to anybody. Danger, scared, worried, unsafe. Now it'll take a little more time than this, but now flip the card over and write down what made you feel safe and secure again. How did you move out of that place? Write down some notes about that. So then I would start a call out. I would love to hear 1 or 2 examples. Someone give me an example of what made them feel safe and secure again.
Getting lost in an unfamiliar place.
That was the scary thing. And then what helped you feel safe again?
We figured out where we were.
Great. Who else? Yeah.
What made me feel safe again was the support and help of the people around me.
So people in your life. So I would
Yeah.
write that down. What else?
Telling the story over and over again.
Being able to say the story out loud. Nancy?
I said friend.
Friends, you already got it. Right. So you then elicit all these kinds of things and you write them up here, and that starts this whole conversation. So it's not focusing on the bad thing that happened to them, but what did they do to recover, and then you lead into a conversation. Okay, how does that apply to your kids? How can you help your kids be in that same place? So that's what happens with that exercise. Continue to talk about some of the valid fears that children have. We talk about some ways to promote safety. Here's some examples of, especially when a child is new in a home, some other things that you can do to help promote safety. Talk about this concept of giving a safety message, especially if you have a child who's got some very specific fears or concrete fears. How to work with the child and maybe their caseworker or a therapist or another adult to come up with a safety plan. Really coach folks around validating and sizing what we're going through. We go into the My Child worksheet, and this is again focusing on a specific safety concern a child might have, so you can have caregivers work on that, either in class or at home, depending on how much time you have. The next couple of slides are from an organization called ECHO that has some great graphics on ways to support folks who've experienced trauma. You don't have to spend a lot of time on these. These are really about reference for folks to give caregivers a chance to kind of look back and reflect on some of these ideas. It's about trauma-informed support for children, creating safety, regulating the nervous system, fostering post-traumatic growth. Some more about this. Post-traumatic growth, it's like the new catchphrase, you guys have heard that? So, I love this graphic, it's very simple, but that's kind of the role that any of us who are working with children who are traumatized is creating that emotional container. We want to talk about that piece. And what we would do now, if we had more time, is we would watch the video, Remember My Story, which is part 2 to Zoe, who we saw earlier. I would encourage folks to watch it tonight before you come back tomorrow. You can either go on YouTube and just type in part 2 removed or Remember My Story, and it's on YouTube, or it's on your thumb drive in week number 7. That's where the story is. It is about 20 minutes long. So if everyone does watch it tonight, I think it'll help give a little more context to this piece. But it follows Zoe a little bit more through a whole TPR process, her relationship with her brother, some more significant challenges that she has, and then it does have a hopeful and positive ending, so go to the end. If you're going to watch, if you start it, make sure you go to the end. So we would talk about that, and in that, there's a lot of examples of how the foster mom creates this emotional container. So we draw that out in the conversation about what did she do to be emotional. We talk a little bit more about what it means to be an emotional container. And then we discuss this concept called hotspots. And I want to walk through this activity because sometimes this activity is a little challenging to set up. And actually, can I have Jennifer or Caleb come up here and help me out? So there's some charts that say, one says mealtime, bedtime, whatever, just put them up somewhere else would be great. So, all kids, but especially children who've experienced trauma or significant grief and loss, have these areas that they tend to struggle. I would argue all kids struggle with these, but right, food and mealtime, sleep and bedtime, and anything around physical boundaries. And you'll often get everyone in the room shaking their head, yes, these are really hard times in our family. So, what we do, oh, they're ripping my poster.
No, what?
Nothing to see here.
Here's some marks. So if you could, yes, stick them on the wall, and one of you to write. So, I'll just go with this one. Why might food and mealtime be difficult for kids who've experienced trauma?
They never had food.
They didn't have enough food,
They never had a structured mealtime.
there was not structured mealtime,
Food was removed for punishment.
food was a part of punishment,
Forced to eat food they didn't want.
forced to eat food they didn't want.
It's not familiar to them what the food actually is, like the types of food.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Say that it's not, the food's not familiar, right? They had a certain kind of food at home, and now they have a different kind of food here.
Smell.
Don't write yet. Smell, right, so they might have some sensory stuff. Right, so you generate some of these conversations, and then there's a quote that speaks about one child's experience. You guys can just read this silently to yourself. So this gives a little bit of context, and that this is an opportunity for you to do a little bit of teaching, right, around all of these things and how, especially with food, it might be one of those times it is okay to give in to our kids, you know, and to not inadvertently punish kids around food issues. And food is a big issue for all of us. Like, it is fascinating how intense this conversation can get. So, as instructors, be aware of your own food issues, right? And your family of origin and your whatever your food stuff is, and these conversations are happening too. So then, now, the writing part that we do is, okay, everybody, you've all had some food and mealtime issues. What have your successes been? What tricks or tips do you have? What's worked in your house? So let's try a couple of those. What are ways that you've been successful with your own kids around? Yeah.
My son always had fast food. That's when he could get it.
Yeah.
That's what he would have. So we brainstormed how we could make fast food at home.
Excellent.
And that's what we started doing, so he came to me only eating 4 different foods, and now he eats everything. He eats sushi,
Wow.
he eats food.
Fast sushi.
Yeah, we just started getting it, and I won't eat it, but, so that's, we just started with that. You know, make it be the food that he liked and find a way to make it so that it kind of tasted like that, but it was real food.
Fantastic. What's another idea? Yeah.
I had teens who saw I would have them get a recipe from their parents, no matter what it was, and then they would quote unquote prepare it with my help, so it was the way that they wanted to do it.
Right. Great. Let them pick up food at the grocery store, right? Definitely, yeah.
Make less of a big deal out of it.
Chill out. Right, definitely. Yeah,
Always having something available.
food always available, right, not hiding food.
We do no thank you helpings at my house, so you have to try it or at least take a couple bites of it, and then you can have the thing that you want.
Nice, nice. So, obviously, these are some great ideas on rushing us, but then the next one we would go on to is sleep at bedtime. What are some of the reasons kids struggle around sleeping at bedtime?
Scared of the dark.
What?
Scared of the dark.
Scared of the dark,
Night terrors.
night terrors.
Bad things happen at night.
Bad things happened at night, probably in their bed, right? Yep, so we all know these things. There's a quote from a child. Right, we talk a little bit more about why sleep time is difficult for children and how sometimes maybe they're locked in their rooms, all kinds of things like that. And then we brainstorm. So let's do a quick little brainstorm. What are some successes you all have had around sleep time, bedtime? Nancy?
Monster spray.
Explain monster spray.
It's just like you use to mist plants. Well, you spray around. And the monsters-
Get rid of the monsters? And it works?
Yeah.
Great! Excellent!
Night
What are other
lights.
ideas?
Night lights.
Night lights?
Remote that doesn't work, then change the channel when you're battery.
Oh, change the channel with a remote? I like that idea. Yeah.
Weighted blankets.
Weighted blanket can be incredible.
Being willing to sit in their room or at the top of the stairs until they want to sleep.
And some of these things are things you might not do with a child who didn't experience trauma. And you might even say, what the heck's wrong with that parent that they sat on the floor for an hour outside the child's bedroom? Right? So I often want to empower caregivers that you may be doing a kind of parenting that other people are going to criticize you for, but it is the right thing for your child. Right?
Some sort of routine, setting up a routine. And rituals.
Routines and ritual stories, one-on-one time. And
Soft
also
music.
mornings, we often don't have the same kind of rituals in the morning, at least in my house we didn't, not just like trying to get everybody out the door, but having rituals in the morning can be really helpful too.
We had, my spouse used to tell stories to my son, that would be like, they were called chippy stories, but they were like really about him. But as, it was like an animal, and then it would be just, creating some conflict or challenge, but then Chippy would always, somehow get through it.
Nice. Yes.
Let them sit up there, I have a little one who would not sleep in the bed, so she made herself a sleeping bag with the blankets and everything else on the floor, and she was perfectly content with that.
So think outside the box, do something that's different. Instead of having your kids sleep on the floor, someone else might say, what? You make your kids sleep on the floor? No, this works for them.
Maybe make sure, I've seen a foster mother make a pillow with a picture of the family on the pillow.
Oh,
So that the child could always sleep with their family.
Love that.
All right, next one, personal boundaries, bathing, going to the doctor, self-care. Why might kids with trauma history struggle with these areas?
Never had fear.
Fear never happened. Some kids never were taught how to brush their teeth, right? So some of it they just do not know. Bodies violated, right? One great way to keep people away from you, right, is to not clean yourself. That can help keep people away from you, so it can be a defense or protection. You guys know this stuff. There's a kind of quote. This certainly can bring up things in a classroom, right? People can have reactions to this quote. And then we would brainstorm some ideas. So what are successes people have had around bathing or privacy or self-care or medical appointments? What are some successes folks have had?
Doing one thing at a time. Concentrate, focusing on one thing at a time.
One thing at a time, right? Chunk it down.
Medical care conference, what's gonna happen before, like, we're gonna walk in, we'll tell our name, we'll sit down, we'll go back and note, like,
Yes, prepping our kids ahead of time, telling them what's going to happen ahead of time. Yes.
Role modeling appropriate boundaries.
Role modeling appropriate boundaries. So you get the idea of these activities. So this hotspot activity is, again, one of those really poignant activities where people really connect with each other and help each other out and check back in with each other after this conversation. So thank you to my lovely assistants. Nice job. Talk a little bit more about trauma reminders, reactions to trauma reminders. Then they do a My Child worksheet about their child's trauma reminders. They do that piece. And then we see Pooh and Piglet. Piglet sidled up to Pooh from behind. Pooh, he whispered. Yes, Piglet. Nothing, said Piglet, taking Pooh's paw. I just wanted to be sure of you. All right, that was week 7. Questions about that piece or comments about it?
this one right here?
Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, real quick, on the last example we were doing up there, that children's books work really well. I use those a lot, like, because you can, the kids can talk about the characters experiencing and their own feelings, and those are good for like doctor's appointments, self-care kind of stuff.
There are tons of good books out about
There's a
all
million
of that stuff. now,
different
right?
kids' books that you can use to just talk about those things, but it's not about, you're not talking about me,
Right.
and I did something wrong.
Right.
But you can talk about the feelings of the characters experiencing, so those are great.
Great, thank you. Week number 8 is about dealing with feelings and behaviors. We're going to go into that a little bit more. Again, we do a check-in question. We do a mindfulness activity. What is this picture? If you've been in the class, don't answer, but anybody who's not taking this, what does this look like to you?
The iceberg.
Yeah, all right. I was like, kind of looks like a sombrero. Hat.
That's where I was going. I thought it was one of those trick,
Oh,
right, is it the lady or is it, yeah.
So we
Or the
talk about
running
this
man.
idea of the child's behavior is just the surface and there's all this stuff underneath. I also like to add, we have an iceberg too, right? And so sometimes our underneath part is bumping up against each other and we don't even really realize what's going on until we're annoyed with our kids and can't make sense of it, so talk to that. We talk about the cognitive triangle. So imagine a scenario where tomorrow, imagine coming back here tomorrow morning, and you come in the door, and there's only 2 people already here. Let's say it's me and Caleb. Caleb and I are here, and we're kind of whispering to each other and looking at you, and kind of turning away, and we keep whispering to each other. What are you thinking? Just throw out a couple thoughts. What might you be thinking?
They might be talking about me.
They're talking about me. What else are you thinking?
What'd I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? Okay? We could expand on that a little bit. What are you feeling?
Shitty.
Shitty? That feeling? Shitty feeling.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
It is now.
Disregard.
Disregarded. Chris, what are you feeling?
Shameful.
Shameful. Okay. What do you do? What's your action based on that?
I might ignore them.
Might ignore
I might
them.
ignore them.
Okay.
I'm leaving.
You're leaving because it's out of here. You're not getting used to you.
I'll come back at the end.
Okay.
Or I could get
story, or you might say, what the heck?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then you find out that Caleb has 2 different colored socks on and he's really embarrassed, and he's telling me about it and getting some coaching from me about what to do. I didn't want you to know, right? Now what do you think? Oops.
Poor Amy.
Poor Amy, poor Caleb, right? What are you feeling? Embarrassed, relieved, stupid, right? What are you gonna do? Giggle.
Maybe mention it.
Maybe mention it. You might even find Caleb a new pair of socks, right? You're gonna do something different. So we talk about breaking this down, right? Depending on what someone's beliefs and thoughts are, that often is a precursor to their feelings, which leads into their behaviors. So we can have a whole long conversation about this piece and just continue that conversation. And how that's hard for kids who've experienced trauma. Talk a little bit more about the ways that kids act out. I'm not going to go through all of these. We do an activity where this last quote is an incident that happens, and then we kind of debrief it through the cognitive triangle. And then we have folks. Remind me to get a new battery on this. I think it's going. And then we do an activity where they do it through their My Child worksheet. We have them pick a behavior and do it with them. And again, depending on time and who your group is, you could have someone volunteer to do that in front of the class. Here's this thing my kid is doing, right? You're trying to break it out between their thoughts and feelings and their behaviors. Going to watch another video that really taps into caregivers and their own self and how they it impacts their parents. And think about yourself as you're watching this and where you might see yourself in this video.
Parents, throughout history we've struggled to get it right. We hope we won't pass on our emotional issues to our kids, and we swear we won't make the same mistakes our parents did. We all have great intentions, but something seems to get in the way. Let's look at what that might be. At Circle of Security Parenting, we believe that being emotionally available to our children and their needs is the key to doing our best as parents. We call emotional availability being with. It means teaching emotional intelligence by being with our children in all their feelings, like sadness, joy, anger, curiosity, pain, frustration, excitement, and so on. Being with children helps them understand, trust, and move on from feelings. And knowing someone is with them in their feelings helps children feel less overwhelmed and more secure. Decades of research backs this up. For parents, some of this comes easily, but other times our children express emotions that make us uncomfortable, so we pull away or try to overrule their feelings, which leaves them on their own. We do this because our children's feelings can trigger strong emotions in us. We think of it like this: our history during childhood of how core people responded to our different emotions creates the background music for how we experience our children's feelings. Let's look at this example. This girl and her father have been enjoying time together in the park, but suddenly aware of the time, Dad says, "We need to go." When the girl hears this, she starts crying and gets increasingly angry. All at once, the dad's background music changes. The background music that is playing for the father right now, we call shark music. As it turns out, the dad's own mother was uncomfortable with loud displays of emotion, and she didn't know how to handle them. So throughout his childhood, she repeatedly told us something was pathetic to cry. and she never ever asked him about his feelings of sadness or anger. His ability to deal with his daughter's emotion now is greatly affected by the experience with his mother then. Sharp music, we're rarely aware it's playing, but it's our past experiences telling us to be afraid of or uncomfortable with a feeling or need that is actually safe. When our sharp music limits our ability to respond to these feelings, our children learn to hide or feel ashamed of them. This is a problem because we're teaching our children to fear emotions that are actually both safe and essential in life. Most of us experience sharp music with one emotion or another, and it's different for everyone. But whenever it is triggered, our ability to respond to our children's needs is limited. The good news is, by simply calling it by name and reflecting on what our children need in the moment, we can turn down our sharp music. This is so important, because if we can learn to manage our history of negative experiences and perceptions, we can respond to the truth of our child's current situation and be with them in it. Ultimately, this will help our children grow up with a better ability to understand and share more of the emotions they experience. There's no escaping it. Strong feelings are a challenge to manage as parents, but our children always benefit when we have an accurate response to what's happening, rather than reacting to the sharp music we're bringing into the relationship. Remember, there's no such thing as perfect parenting, and blame never helped anyone feel more secure. That includes blaming ourselves. But the more often we can identify our sharp music, the better off our children will be.
Circle of Security International is where this is from. They have a lot of amazing resources, lots of videos, handouts, graphics that are open for anyone to use. You have to sign a little disclaimer promising that you won't profit from it or something, but they have some great things. So that beautiful, amazing teenage girl that I did the videos with, right? Love of my life, right? If she says something that I think is dishonest, I've been shocked at myself. I'm so thankful no one's had a videotape of me. I'm like, wow! Like, I just go. I lose it. Like I can't. And then afterwards, I'm like, what happened? Right? That's my sharp music. Like, I have become crystal clear aware of it recently. So, in this point in time, I have folks have a conversation with each other. What's your sharp music? And hopefully people at this point in the class are willing to be a little bit self-disclosing with each other about, this is my thing, right? And then, again, we don't want them stuck with that, oh, I suck, right? We don't want people stuck there. And then, so we also talk about, so what's the being with? What are the ways that you are connecting with this? Right? So we help people come to that place too and have a conversation about that. And again, you can decide, depending on the size of your group and how they're doing, whether that just stays in a small group, whether you do that as a big group, whether people share out or do that kind of thing. Reactions to this video or things that stood out to you or made you think?
It's my favorite video to use both with work families and for fostering and adopted.
What happens?
Parents get aha moments, especially if I do it just in a parenting session with them, and they kind of do. So how are you reacting to your kids' emotions? Like what? And oftentimes, they at least are starting to be able to identify what's making them uncomfortable and where it came from, so that it maybe doesn't solve the being with problem, but it's at least an initiation into that path that they're actually uncomfortable with something that is creating more discomfort for their child.
Yes, excellent. That's great. And they do it in this silly little cartoon and they call it sharp music. I think there's something that is a little disarming and people are able to be a little bit more vulnerable with that. Any other thoughts or reactions? Then we go through this whole piece about helping caregivers. What are some specific ways to keep doing this? I'm not going to go through all of this. then there's this game, which unfortunately I often run out of time with. But the idea of this is you make up a bunch of faces, and you can cut them out of your book, or you can make up your own. And you have people take turns, so I make a smiley face, and the person has to guess whether I'm happy or sad, or like a charades around emotions. And it's not easy, right? I'm making this face, what does it mean?
You're judging.
You, I'm judging you. Right, so playing that game, and that's also a great tool to bring to kids, because all kids struggle with reading facial expressions. Children have experienced developmental trauma even more so. So it's just a good game to do that with. Talking about you're expressing emotions. Oh, this activity. Is this activity? Yes. No, hold on. Okay, this activity. So we're not going to do it, but imagine there's a big bowl of M&Ms in front of you, and you also have a paper cup. And I would ask everyone to think of the last 2 days. How many times did they do any of these things with their child? Each time they did it, they put an M&M in the cup. So how many times did you compliment your child for doing something well? Clunk some M&Ms in. Say thank you to your child. Clunk some more M&Ms in. Ask your child's opinion about something. Give your child a chance to do something for themselves. Offer your child options. And, you know, people have a big stack of M&Ms in their cup. Laugh at your child. Now, take M&Ms out of your cup for these things. Raise your voice. Tell them to stop doing something. Tell them they have to do something. Impose consequences on them. Ask your child, what on earth were you thinking? Right? And suddenly all the M&Ms come out, and people laugh, and they're embarrassed, and they're cheating and stealing M&Ms. And the point of this activity is not to shame people, right? The point of this activity is we want to find balance, because of course, sometimes you do have to say no. And of course, you do have to impose consequences. But you want to balance that out. And ideally, you have 6 or 7 or 8, what's the number? It's written down somewhere. Compliments or positive engagements with your child for each negative correct thing. So it can be a fun activity. Make sure that you make it fun too, otherwise people are going to feel bad. And homework, have them observe their sharp music this week, and have them observe themselves as they move their faces. Yes?
I was just thinking, there's another fun one where you have them put like pennies in one side of their pocket. Every time they say praise or do something nice for their kid, they get to move a penny to the other pocket.
So they do that at home.
And the goal is to get all the pennies from one pocket to the other pocket. So it's something similar. And it's a reminder of like, I have a pen, and my goal is to say something nice or praise them, and then I have to try and move all the pennies from one pocket.